Let's get our game on. So Dracon Heroes got a couple new fusion monsters. I feel like now's a better time than ever to finally do a hero video, because now Heroes feels more like an actual hero deck than it has for a long ass time. If you guys don't know, Dragonic Contact, or as I like to call it, Dracon, is a hero skill that gives you a whole lot, and it doesn't even make sense, some of it, but hey, it is what it is. You can send a level 10 or a warrior from your hand or field to grave once per turn to play out a level 10 out of the ones on screen to your field from your deck or grave. You also add a free poly from outside your deck, and once per duel you also get to add super poly from deck to hand this way. This ain't a once per duel, so as long as you have a warrior or a level 10, you can get another one out from deck or get one back from grave. Why is that good? Well, going first, you get to play out Armed Dragon Thunder, who has a quickie to discard a card and pop a card, and going second, you get to play out Armed Dragon level 10, which can discard a card to Raigeki the opponent's board. Since the skill gives you a free poly every time you use it, you're always going to have a discard fodder for that effect too, but that might make you ask, what do these armed dragons have to do with heroes? That's a great question. Anyway, you could also play out a Neos to use as fusion material, especially with Super Poly needing you to have a hero on board. Or you could play out Rainbow Dragon in a simplified game state to swing for game. You don't got to worry about the Yugioh stuff though. Don't play it. It ain't that good. You just got to know, going first, you go for Thunder as an interruption. Going second, you go for level 10 as a board wipe. Either way, you get Super Poly for the first time. And either way, you get a Poly to get your plays going. And every follow-up turn, you can keep bringing one of them back, or one of the other options with a free poly as discard fodder. So just from this, we go first with two interruptions. The Armed Dragon Thunder as a quickie pop, and the Super Poly as a way to use their monster as material, but only if you've got a hero on board. Two interruptions for free is pretty damn good, but it ain't that amazing these days. So this deck's got a couple other ways to get interruptions out. First of all, we got Liquid Soldier and Crosskeeper. These guys aren't interruptions, but they let you draw cards to help you find background hand trap. Once per turn, if you use Liquid as material for a fusion, you can draw two cards and then discard a card, and once per turn, if Crosskeeper is in grave and you fusion summon, you get to draw two cards and then shuffle a card back. You could discard Crosskeeper using an Armed Dragon to get it in there, or you could use its in-hand effects to special summon a hero from hand or grave. You could do that instead of normal summoning just to get this dude in grave. Just keep in mind, if you do use it to revive something, that revived hero is going to be negated. If we can try to trigger these draw effects, is going to help us to draw through our deck and find whatever cards we put in our deck to counter the meta. That could be Necro Valley to mess up grave decks, DD Crow to interrupt certain combos, Lancia to stop banish decks, non-fusion area to mess up fusion decks, Magic Deflector or Curse Sealed to screw over spell decks. Bro, literally whatever staples or floodgates or hand traps are best for that format, you can play them in heroes and try and draw into them so you can mess up the opponent with them. But sometimes even that's not enough. So this deck's got new support that gives us even more of a push. You're always going to be able to have a poly, but after that you just need two heroes with different attributes to fuse with. You could use a skill to get Neos from deck if you don't have enough heroes to fuse with. You could use Stratos to search Liquid so you have two heroes to fuse with, but any combination works as long as you got two heroes. Use poly to fuse into E hero Sunrise, and on summon, Sunrise is going to search Miracle Fusion. If you use Liquid, go chain link 1 Liquid and chain link 2 Sunrise. That way you're guaranteed both the draw 2 and the search. You can go into settings and set activation settings to manual to make sure you can do that. Then you can use Miracle Fusion with those first materials from grave to go into Flame Wingman, and on summon he's going to be able to search for a favorite card. The two options are Wing Karibo level 6 and favorite hero. Going first, you're generally going to go for the Wing Karibo. That's going to be your next interruption. Then you can special summon Wing Karibo by banishing your Flame Wingman from the field. But if you use Neos as material for the Flame Wingman, you could use Flame Wingman's effect tributing itself to play out Brave Neos. And then with Wing Karibo, you could banish Flame Wingman from grave to special summon it. And it says if the opponent's monster activates or attacks, you can tribute the Karibo to destroy that monster and burn the opponent for half that monster's attack. Hey bro, a whole extra pop. That's pretty good. And if they attack any of your heroes other than Sunrise, Sunrise can pop one of their cards. Alternatively, you could search favorite heroes and equip one of your heroes with favorite hero and enter the battle phase. At the start, it's going to play Necro Valley right from your deck, and while it's there, it's going to buff up your hero's attack by its defense and make it untargetable. And if your hero destroys something in battle, you can unequip the favorite hero to let it attack again. I like equipping Brave Neos because if it destroys something, it searches Neos Fusion to give us a really good follow-up up if the opponent survived. Neos Fusion is such a strong card in this deck for going second, but also sometimes for going first. Going first, if you didn't have any way to get a hero in play, you could still use the skill to get out Armed Dragon Thunder, then use Neos Fusion to play Brave Neos, so you can still have something to fuse with Super Poly on board. Going second and following up though, this card's going to be going into Jaden's best card, the Rainbow Neos. This guy's got 3 effects to choose from. You can tribute a monster to shuffle the opponent's monsters into the deck. You can tribute a back row to shuffle their back row into the deck, or you can mill a card from your top of your deck to shuffle their grave back into the deck. You can only use one of them per turn, so you gotta figure out which you need to do more, but if you're shuffling their monsters, he can actually tribute himself to dodge the opponent's effect failure. What's cool about Neos Fusion 2 is if they want to destroy your fusion, it'll protect it by banishing itself from grave. Going second, Sunrise is also good because it doesn't just trigger off the opponent attacking your heroes, it also triggers off of your heroes battling them. You're gonna be able to destroy a card during your own battle phase. Now everything I've just told you is going to be enough to win a lot of games, but you'll win even more if you can make your moves at the right time and in the right order. Going first, you want to use the right interruptions at the right times. You don't want to use Super Poly on a monster that had no protection if they're going to summon an indestructible monster later in the turn. And you'll want to save Super Poly for that since it ignores the majority of protection effects. Going second, you got your Armed Dragons, Super Poly, and Neos Fusion to break the opponent's board, but you gotta keep things in mind. Like Neos Fusion stops you summoning anything else after you use it, so you can't use Super Poly after it. But you can use the skill after it to play out Rainbow Dragon to finish them off for game. You can play out Armed Dragon level 10 to bait out the opponent, then use Poly to go into your other plays afterwards. Stratos can pop back row instead of searching, so you could summon other heroes by fusion summoning or with a skill getting out Neos or with Crosskeeper. Then normal summon Stratos at the end to pop back row. And even better, if you chain Super Poly using Stratos' material, it'll pop even more back row. You could also hypothetically use Poly to go into Rainbow Neos, so you could keep special summoning afterwards by having Neos or Rainbow Dragon in hand and using the skill to set the other one to the field. If you're on a follow-up turn and you can fuse into another copy of Sunrise, then you can use Miracle Fusion using all your materials engraved to go into a huge Wake Up Your Elemental hero. I'm just going to call him Waco hero. It gains 300 attack for all its materials, and it gets to attack the same amount of times as it has materials, and if it destroys something, it burns the opponent for half that monster's attack. This guy is so cracked for getting lethal. It's so hard to survive in. Some people have tried out a spicy tech where they play DNA Surgery in the deck, and when they flip it up, they make all their opponent's monsters into warriors. That way, they can Super Poly the opponent's entire board into Waco. That's pretty cool if you want to try it, but it is a bit more of a meme game plan, at least in this format. Another cool thing you can do going first in this deck is use Flare Wingman tributing itself to play out Aqua Neos, who will destroy a card in the opponent's hand. That way, you not only get the bonus interruption of Winged Karibo, but you also take away a resource from the opponent, potentially making it harder for them to wipe you out. It's just that the extra deck in this deck is kind of tight, so most people sacrifice this play for more versatility. We can't even play all of our Super Poly targets the way things are. You can think of the hero cards in this deck as an engine to help you find your interruptions, and the less engine you play, the more of those interruptions you can play, but the more of your engine you play, the more easily you can dig for the ones you want. I would say the bare minimum engine requirements are 2 Equal, 3 Stratos, 2 Liquid, 2 Crosskeeper, 1 Neos, 1 of each Armed Dragon level 10, 1 Rainbow Dragon, 1 Ring Karibo level 6, 1 Super Poly, 2 Miracle Fusion, 1 Favorite Hero, and 3 Neos Fusion. You can cut out Favorite Hero if you like, but other than that, you can choose to increase the number of Equal, Liquid, or Crosskeeper to give you even greater consistency, and you can play more Neos if you want to activate the bonus effect of Flare Wingman more often. In your extra deck, you go to play Rainbow Neos, Flare Wingman Infernal Rage, Sunrise, and Brave Neos. The main deck and extra deck both have some room at this point, and it's going to mostly depend on the format. Necro Valley is usually really good in this deck because it always hurts the opponents more than it hurts you, and if you need to use your grave again, you can always send it to grave with Rainbow Neos and keep going from there. Since we draw cards so much, we can afford to run 2 copies of whatever we are trying to draw into, but for going second, before we get to draw stuff, we might want to play 3 copies of an opponent hand trap, and if the meta is especially crazy, you might want to max out on your win button cards to make sure you always get them. Like this format, Cursed Seal, Non-Fusion Area, and Magic Deflector are really great win buttons. And yes, you can use Neos Fusion while Non-Fusion Area is on the field, since Neos Fusion technically isn't a fusion summon. Some formats, it might be Droll, Lancia, Mind Drain. Some formats, there isn't any consistent win button, so you just play solid staples like Compulse, Lost Wind, Veiler. You do whatever you need to do with the main deck, and with the extra deck, what you do is based on what monsters in the meta you want to be able to use Super Poly on. We got all the attributes as options except for Water and Divine, so out of the 5 we've got, you got to figure out which ones are most important and play them so you can fuse off your opponent's monster with your hero as an interruption or as a way to break their board. These days, Dark, Light, and Wind are best, so you play Doriado, Shining, and Tornado, but you can always switch it up with Nova Master or Gaia if you need to. These 3 are also ones you can summon with Miracle Fusion if you need, because their effects are pretty good for going for game. I think you can say that there's one flex spot. I feel like you could either play Waco or Aqua Neos here. It's up to you depending on if you want a stronger opening play or a stronger follow-up play. I choose follow-up just because this deck can turn into a yellow button simulator in a grind game, and if I can convert that into a genuine hero OTK instead, I'd be much more satisfied. Okay, so I am going first here against Lyrilusc. They're going to be able to use the skill and get their Cobalt Sparrow Grave, revive it with the Warbler. Cobalt is going to search for Barrel Canary. That's their full combo. They're going to be able to go right into their Nightingale. Nightingale is going to attach the Cobalt Sparrow, and then he's going to be able to use the Barrel Canary to revive the Sparrow again and go into a 2 material Ensemble Robin. He's going to have 2 bounces on my turn. He's going to be untargetable and indestructible, and I'm not going to be able to touch his life points either. But I have Stratos. Stratos is an amazing card to open because it gives you everything. It gives you whatever you want. I'm going to search for Liquid Soldier, and then I'm going to use the skill discarding my Armed Dragon Thunder and then setting it back, because on the opponent's turn I want to Super Poly away his Nightingale, and if he does have a way to revive it, I want to pop it as soon as it's summoned to make sure that it doesn't get any materials. That's the plan there. I want to have backup plans, but my main plan is Necro Valley, and that's exactly what I'm going to go for. I'm going to spawn Polymerization and Super Polymerization to my hand with a skill, use my Poly, fusing together Liquid and Neos to go into Sunrise. Liquid is going to draw 2 cards, Sunrise is going to search, his Robin is going to bounce my Sunrise, but that's okay. I got the search. That's what I was really using it for anyway. I don't need it to stick around. Miracle Fusion is going to banish Neos and Liquid to go into Flame Wingman. Flame Wingman is going to get my search. He's not going to bounce it though. I am going to tribute my Flame Wingman to go into Aqua Neos. He does not want to get hand ripped, so he is going to bounce this, but now he's out of interruptions. I'm going to use my Super Poly, fusing my Aqua Neos with his Nightingale to go integrate Tornado. Now normally I would do it on the opponent's turn so that if he tries to revive it I can stop it, but since he's getting rid of a valid fusion material I might as well do it now anyway, so that's exactly my plan. Great Tornado, it doesn't really matter if it activates or not. It's a wind attribute monster, and that's really why we're playing it. But yeah, we're going to use the Wing Karibo since I did have it, you know. I am going to revive it, and the thing is I only searched for Wing Karibo because I already had favorite hero. If I didn't have favorite hero I wouldn't have searched for Wing Karibo, but as you're going to see, the Winged Karibo isn't going to be helpful in this matchup anyway. I'm just going to use my favorite hero, and this is really the main game plan you want to go for against a deck like this. You want to use their Nightingale as material, as Super Poly material, and then use your favorite hero to get out Necro Valley in the battle phase. This is how you break their board, guys. This is how you prevent them from recovering. And so we're just going to end our turn here. We don't have any interruption, but we do have the Undragon Thunder level 10, which can be an interruption, and we do have the Wing Karibo, which can be an interruption. But he does have a pretty damn good card in his hand. He does have the Bird Strike, which is going to negate all of my monsters, so I have no choice but to respond with Undragon Thunder to destroy his Bird Sanctuary. But I'm okay. I still have Necro Valley. He can't revive his Nightingale here, right? But he does have a normal summon, and he does have the skill to turn his Xyz into another Xyz material from the deck. Here he's going to have to go into Promenade Thrush to get rid of my Necro Valley. He's going to get rid of my Necro Valley, but he has no other plays left, so it's GG's. Okay, so I'm going first in a mirror match here, and we're going to see just how goddamn insane the mirror match is. I'm going to use Equal to search Stratos. I'm going to use Stratos, and Stratos is trying to search for Liquid here, so I can draw into some stuff, fusing with Neos, getting the whole hand rip play off. But he does have the effect Veiler, and what this means is I can't discard my Stratos or my Neos with a skill anymore. I need to use both of them to go into my fusion plays, so I'm going to have to discard my Armed Dragon to get my Poly here. That is a big deal. However, I'm still looking alright. It just means I'm going to have less card advantage. So I am going to get my Armed Dragon Thunder. I'm going to get my Poly. Poly is going to fuse my Neos and my Stratos to go into Sunrise. Sunrise is going to get me my Miracle Fusion Search. I'm going to use the Miracle Fusion here to banish my Neos and my Stratos to go into Flare Wingman. Flare Wingman is going to search Wing Karibo level 6, and Flare Wingman is going to get out Aqua Neos, discarding the Winged Karibo to destroy a card in his hand. His Armed Dragon level 10. Now if you look, he only has 2 cards left in his hand. That's goddamn insane. And if he doesn't have a skill target in his hand when his turn starts, there's nothing he can do. So we potentially might have taken away his only skill target to allow him to come back into the game. But that's not all. We're also going to banish the Aqua Neos to bring back the Winged Karibo, because the Aqua Neos was going to return itself back to the extra deck anyway, so might as well bring back the Winged Karibo. These two are protecting themselves in battle. Like if you attack one of them, the other one's going to pop it. If you attack the other one's going to pop it. And also this one can be an interruption as well. But Armed Dragon Thunder, I mean, I don't really want to discard my Super Poly, and there's no other cards I want to discard, so I might as well just keep it face down so that he can't Super Poly it away if he can. But he's going to draw a card, he has no skill targets, and it's GG's. That's just the power of hand trips, guys. So I'm actually going second here against Branded, arguably the best deck, but I have Stratos and I have Liquid. I'm going to search for Neos, and then I'm going to use the skill, turning my Stratos into Armed Dragon Thunder level 10. Now I have pretty much the best case scenario. I'm going to add Polymerization to my hand. I already had Super Poly in my hand, unfortunately, but it just means that if I can somehow get it back in my deck later, that I could search it with a skill later, but that's still pretty unlikely. But I'm going to win anyway. So I'm going to use my Poly, fusing together my Liquid and my Neos to go into Sunrise. Sunrise is going to search, and Liquid Soldier is going to draw 2 cards. I'm going to get my Miracle Fusion, draw 2, discarding, by the way, Crosskeeper, which means I'm going to be able to draw 2 again. So I'm going to Miracle Fusion, but the opponent has DD Crow. They're going to banish my Crosskeeper. Now guys, if you're a Despia player, you should not be doing that. Yes, I would be getting a draw 2 from my Crosskeeper here, but I don't really need that. What I really need is Neos, because by using a normal monster as material for my Flame Wingman, it means I'm also going to be able to hand rip him. So essentially, he's down to 3 cards because he used the DD Crow. He's going to be down to 2 cards left because he DD Crowed the wrong card. So yes, maybe drawing 2 would be insanity, but it's even worse if you don't DD Crow the Neos. And that's exactly what he's going to be punished for here. I'm going to be able to go into Infernal Flame Wingman, search Winged Karibo level 6. It's going to turn itself into Aqua Neo, discard the Winged Karibo to destroy a card in his hand. And then I'm going to banish the Aqua Neos to bring back the Winged Karibo. I'm going to be able to set my Super Poly, which is pretty good at interrupting any other fusion decks as well, especially light and darks like this one. And I also have the interruption of Armed Dragon level 10, the interruption of Winged Karibo, and the battle protection of Sunrise going on here. So this is a pretty stacked field, but I really don't need to interrupt him. I just need to survive him because I do have Miracle Fusion in hand, and I also have a skill target in my hand. That's really what's important here. But he is going to be able to use the skill. He's going to be able to pretty much completely refill his hand here, making most of that hand rip kind of not as good. However, it's still good. Okay, I don't regret hand ripping him, but he does have Book of Eclipse. Very unfortunate that I didn't rip that one out of his hand, but it is going to turn off all of my monster interruptions, but I'm still going to have the single Super Poly as my remaining interruption. The good thing is I'm going to try to use the Super Poly to prevent him from breaking my board. If he is able to Dark Lord, I'll just use his Dark Lord as material, and hopefully he's not going to have enough to kill me. That's my thought process. But he's going to flip me all down, activate his Field Spell. Field Spell is going to be able to let him go into Masquerade. Tragedy is going to activate, Ad Libitum is going to activate, and the Dramature is going to activate, resummoning itself. He's going to search for a Luber. He's going to normal summon a Luber, and a Luber is going to search for Branded Opening. He's going to link off into Condemned Dark Lord, and before he activates, to get himself the necessary requirements for the first Dark Lord, I'm going to Super Poly his ass. It doesn't matter that I'm paying life points because of Masquerade. I don't activate that many effects in this deck anyway, so I'm going to go into Escuriado, and yeah, he's not going to be able to beat over my whole board. He's just going to be able to set 3, go over my Sunrise, and on end phase, I'm going to draw a card from Eclipse, flipping up my Dragon Thunder. But unlucky for him, the card that he forced me to draw is Necro Valley, the card that if I activate it, he's screwed. So at the very beginning of my turn, I activate Necro Valley. I will happily pay the tax of 600 for you, my boy. I will happily pay it. And then I'm going to use the skill, turning my Armed Dragon into the other Armed Dragon. I'm going to flip it up, add Poly to my hand, discard the Poly, and he is going to Forbidden Droplet, sending his other 2 backward to the grave just to negate both of my monsters that I cannot beat over him. But he's only going to have his Field Spell and his Masquerade left. He is totally, completely relying on his top deck here. And I don't think there's anything he can top deck to save him, especially with a Necro Valley on the field here. So I'm just going to set my magic deflector just in case there's something he can do, but I don't think there is. And he's just going to activate the Banishment of the Dark Lord, search Dark Lord Morningstar, but he still doesn't have the necessary requirements, right? So he's just gonna scoop it up. GG. Tier 1 deck my ass.
Hey, why they gotta hate on me? I done got me 250,000 views and they still saying they low key. They ain't wanna come work with the kid, but I'm flexing with Zay on beats. How they ask for a spot at the gym, but they leave all the weight on me. I don't ask them to wait on me. They would ask where they gon' be with a song if they wanted the Weatherman. I ain't asking to pay no fees. She was homeless and needed a spot. I ain't ask her to pay no lease. I ain't ask her to say no please. I ain't ask her to make no cheese. Scream fake, but it ain't on me. Got clean, so it ain't no streets. Why green if it ain't no keeps? Brought cream, so it ain't no beef. My team say it ain't no chief. My demon, they hang on me. They seemingly ain't no peace. I seen him, he ain't no beast. For real.